With Persona 5 Royal releasing on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and the Nintendo Switch relatively soon, I wanted to take a moment to talk about this game and how it was able to effectively hook me with its presentation, its charm, how it made me a fan of the Persona series and the genre of JRPGs in general. And maybe along the way, this video can convince someone to give this game a shot who wouldn't have done so otherwise. Because I really do feel like this game has more to offer someone other than a very enjoyable experience. But to start talking about my experience with Persona 5, we have to start from the beginning. I think like many people, my first introduction to Joker wasn't even from Persona 5, even though I had purchased the game several months before. No, it was actually from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the first DLC Challenger Pack reveal from the Game Awards in 2018.
This is Joker. The mission is go.
Wait a second. You mean you went alone?
Now, since I wasn't familiar with Joker to this point, it was hard for me to get excited for this DLC pack. Nothing against the character, but as Shaq put it, I wasn't really familiar with your game. After the initial reveal, however, I was immediately more interested in the character Joker and where he came from. I wanted to know more about his story, who these other people in the trailer were, or what this blue flame looking thing is. I had a lot of questions that I wanted the answer to, and all the answers were just sitting on my shelf. So one summer afternoon, after failing my college Spanish exam, I decided to give Persona 5 on PlayStation 4 a shot. Right when the game boots up, the music makes such an immediate, strong impression with how much of a banger it is. I was in marching band and concert band all throughout middle school, high school, and some college, so music has always been a big part of my life, and good music is something that I will always appreciate. Persona 5 immediately was able to hook me with its amazing opening track, Wake Up, Get Out There, and its visually pleasing opening cinematic with its beautiful art style. There's not enough praise that I can give to the Persona 5 soundtrack. Not only its base game, but also games like Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 Strikers. Every track in this game is so well fitted to the moment happening on screen, it all just makes so much sense. Something that Persona 5 does very well that I think is also the reason I wasn't initially able to get into previous series titles and other JRPGs in general is its presentation. The menus and battle screens have such a unique design that, up to that point, I had never seen before in another game. It's what drew me in after the hot start the game had already started me on. When I think of JRPGs and their menus, I tend to think of what's been the standard since essentially the 90s. You have all these parties on screen in this standard formation. You got this menu in the corner that you open up and it just opens more menus, and there's boxes and rectangles, and it's just very basic. Functional, sure, it's been the standard for as long as it has been for a reason, but it's just not very engaging in my opinion. Part of the reason I was never able to get into the genre of JRPGs was because looking at the screen I got bored. Random battles only to be faced with boring menus and having to mash up the select button just to get a move on, it didn't really hook me into the game. Now let's take a look at Persona 5's battle screen.
No weaknesses I can see.
Look at this user interface. There's so much style in this battle screen. The UI is so unique and so immersive. Just look at these transitions between the menus. This is actually really fun to go through. The UI is so different from what's been traditionally done. and I think other games are starting to follow suit and move away from the traditional menu style. I'm not saying that Persona is the reason for this, but I'm not saying it. It's a lot more immersive to look at, and navigation overall is just more fun. Basic user interfaces never really caught my interest. It's part of the reason why I really couldn't get into games like Final Fantasy VII, but really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake. But that's a discussion for a later video. And that's not even mentioning the battle music that Persona 5 offers that always manages to keep me at the edge of my seat with the battle going on screen. I don't want to delve too deeply into the story of Persona 5 because the purpose of this video is about sharing my experience playing the game and possibly convince someone to give this game a shot. Talking about the story of this game that I want other people to try seems a bit counterintuitive. Without spoiling it, the story of Persona 5, in my opinion, is phenomenal. Right from the start of the game, it had me curious about what was going to happen around the corner. Almost all the characters are written to perfection. There are no two characters that are the same, and it's that uniqueness that I feel makes the Phantom Thieves such a fun and dynamic group to learn about. These characters, they had me smiling, laughing, happy, angry, and at times emotional. There's only a couple games that I wish I could replay for the first time, and this is absolutely one of those games. The story was such a joy to experience the first time. Going through the raw emotions I felt going through this game is honestly something that I miss, and I wish more games would make me feel. I feel this is what hooked me to Persona 5 above everything else. Above the music, above the amazing interface, above the fun gameplay. It's the connection that I was able to make with these characters, how I empathized with their struggles and felt the joy in their triumphs, sharing their desire to succeed in their goals no matter how insurmountable they may seem. These relationships that I was able to develop with these characters are something that I really appreciate from the game because all the emotions I felt were genuine. The losses hurt, the victories were joyous, but they were also bittersweet at times if they had to be. The story and these characters were just able to evoke these emotions, and it's something that I could really appreciate because there aren't many games that do that for me. The only other games I can think of that had the same effect were Undertale and Deltarune. Persona 5 and its spin-offs and remakes have all done so much for me that I hadn't realized until making this video. This game was really able to expand my horizons on the type of games that I would enjoy and wouldn't have given a shot otherwise. Games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Persona 4 Golden, even a game like Fire Emblem Three Houses, which isn't even a JRPG, all fantastic games that I hold in high regard nowadays. I never would have given them a chance if Persona 5 hadn't changed my perspective on the RPG/JRPG genre and inspired me to give games like Fire Emblem Three Houses, a whole different genre, a chance when I wouldn't have done so otherwise. And I think that's the biggest accomplishment this game was able to do for me. It gave me a reason to try out new games and explore what's out there. A fitting result of a game where its main theme is about changing hearts.